So welcome everyone. I am very excited. I have another juicy interview with you for you. And I have a very special guest today. Her name is Margot. Welcome, Margot.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you for being here. As you know, we did amazing work together, and it's my intention to share stories of real women who are going through the same thing that perhaps as you watching this video, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally can identify with this. Because I feel like it's really hard to explain feminine results, right? Like, what does that really mean to connect with ourselves, to live our authentic truth, to be authentically ourselves, and how, like, what happens in our lives when we do that? And my intention is that you feel inspired, that you feel that you're not the only crazy one, that you feel that many women go through what you might be going through right now. And Margot is going to share her journey so you can feel that, yes, of course, there's work to do, there's commitment to yourself, but it's possible that you transform your life and you create the life that you want on your terms. And that's what I'm so passionate about, because that's what happens when we connect with our wild woman and we become empowered, connected in the alliance with the good girl, which are the archetypes that I teach in all of my programs. And if any of this resonates with you, if you feel totally like, oh my gosh, this is it, let's jump on a call to explore this farther. I'm not about pushing you to do anything because it doesn't work for any of us. I can't help you if you don't want to be helped, or if we're not connected. So the intention on that call is for us to really get clear where you are in your life and how to move forward. And if that makes sense that we move forward together, then we'll do that. And if not, I always recommend something that you can do to find your way and your truth. That is my passion. So Margot, without further ado, Margot has a really powerful story that, I remember that call when you said, Paul, I need to talk to you. And we're gonna give her a little background of how we met and how we started, and you're gonna share that. But again, thank you so much for being brave and sharing your story with us. Go ahead, honey.
My pleasure. Yeah, so I think first to start when we first met, actually, which will be, I think, 3 years ago this fall. And really thinking back, ever since I met you, my life has just changed for the better, like super fast. So I'm so grateful to know you and have you in my life.
Oh. Okay,
so
we're gonna
yes,
try again. This is
I know every time. Oh, I love it. That realization just came. Yeah.
And
so
we met at a conference when I was doing.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, we met at a conference. Paul was a speaker, and the funny thing is, I didn't even hear your speech that first day because it was over lunch and I had to eat. but a mutual friend told me that you were amazing and shared your work with me, and I just ate it up. And then ever since meeting you in person, I know we connected later, and I just was drawn to your work and followed you for a while. And I know you checked in with me, and things were, at that time I met you, I was in this really kind of toxic work environment, and at the same time trying to start up my own business where my passion is. So since then, fast forward, I actually switched work environments to, I'm in IT in my day job, and I'm in a much more supported environment there, and that allows me to have more energy to devote to my passion work that I hope to transition to. So
yeah,
that's a little.
So yeah, so no, I love it. And that's right, because I remember now knowing your story from this other side,
Yeah.
after working together, it makes sense why you, like, that was taking up so much space, being in that very toxic environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
definitely.
what happens, right? Like that's one of the things that I'm so passionate about teaching women is emotional mastery and also saying no to what doesn't serve us, right? Because it's so easy that our good girl would put up with things because, well, I'm already here, I have benefits, I have this. Like we always find excuses to remain in places that we really don't feel comfortable with because of fear of, well, is there anything better out there, right? So you took the leap and you found a different job that was completely different, and that allowed you to have more space for the things that you want.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I was at that other job for like 16 years. So yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, so then we reconnected
Mhm.
somehow, and we jump on a call. And
Yes, well, it was the challenge. Yeah, so I joined.
challenge, that's right.
Yeah. The challenge was wonderful. You were always in the back of my mind, and I was always watching your Facebook lives and connecting and thinking about the things. And the challenge just swept me up and the excitement. And I thought, wow, things are good now. I'm stable in the new job. I've been married for a little, what, almost 2 years this spring. So I got married, life was settled, and
Yeah.
I was finally ready to do the work with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You were getting married and in between. Yes, that's right too. Right. So okay, so we jumped on a call and
Yes. Yes. And I was just so excited. I was ready to just start the program that day. And it was just amazing. I remember I was visiting my sister in Wisconsin and we had our call, and I was just so grateful that we could connect and talk. And I just wanted to start. I was just so excited.
yeah. All right. So then you signed up for the Wild Woman Immersion program, and that has a bonus. My other program, which is the Power of Receiving, which is an online course that I also teach uh, on the side, but it's included in this. So because we had a little bit to start, you began with working with the Power of Receiving, which again are videos that are already pre-recorded with workbooks. And so you started that until we started the official Wild Woman Immersion program. And
Yes.
tell us, okay, so tell us, because I love your story. You can tell, ladies, like I'm all over the place because I really love her story. So you were going for your business, but there was something that was kind of like not fully working for you. And what was that?
Yeah. So the power of receiving really was so powerful. Um, my my business. Should I talk about that? What
Yes,
that
yes,
is now?
yes.
Okay. So I help women on their fertility journey. I'm a Eden Energy Medicine certified practitioner, a yoga instructor, and a Gestalt professional certified coach. So I have all these tools and techniques, and I've honed them in to help women on their fertility journey. At the same time, my husband and I were on our own fertility journey. So I did help a few women get pregnant, and I was excited to help them. But at the same time, I wasn't getting pregnant. And so it was hard to, how can I tell these women I can really help you when I can't help myself?
Yes, that's what we call sometimes that fraud syndrome, right? Like, who am I to teach this if I'm not making it work, even though you were helping others? Because as we know, ladies, like it's easier to help others sometimes than to help ourselves. And that's what kind of was happening, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So then you did the power receiving while you were waiting to start the other program.
Right, right. So my husband and I have been married for 2 years, but we dated for a little bit before that. And because I'm 40 now, and he's a couple years older than me, we knew time was of the essence. So we were kind of trying, before we got married. We weren't worried about the timeline. We're like, oh, if we have a kid now, that's great. We know it might take, some time. So we were working on our journey along the way. And it had been like maybe 3 years or so with no luck. And then, I had been doing all the natural stuff that I work on my clients on me, of course,
Yeah.
but I really believe it was that power of receiving and working with Paula that cleared the blocks and just everything aligned. And I was able to get pregnant because I was able to open up and receive. Long story
Well,
short.
you know, what happens is, and I remember that time when you're like, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Paul, like, I need to tell you something. And I'm like, oh my God. And we were both crying on the phone because when she told me that, I just burst into tears because I knew how important it was and how it was one of your biggest desires at the time. All right. So what I love about this, what you're saying is one of the things, Margot, is that you are an IT. You were working in IT, very masculine environment, and so you know when you started with the power receiving, you brought more of the feminine into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's what happened. So then we did okay. Then we started. You continue to do that. Then we started officially the Wild Woman Immersion Program.
Yes.
And
and so now I think we started when I found out. It was right around the time when I think I found out.
yeah, we were about. I think you found out you were pregnant, and then we're
slightly before. Yeah. And at that same time, so I was overjoyed with the news of the pregnancy and excited to dive into the Wild Woman program. And meanwhile, I had moved. So I moved across town. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and I had a space where I previously lived where I could see clients. And then I moved to a new part of town where I didn't have a space to see clients, and I could do things over like Zoom and things like this. But sometimes it's also nice to have the hands-on touch as well. Yeah. And literally in the beginning of the Wild Woman Immersion Program, a person I know was opening up her own a women-centered business, a hair salon actually, but they have a studio for massage, and she knew I did this work, and she invited me to share the studio space closer to my home, basically. So it was all lining up at the same time.
So now baby was coming, work was opening up. I mean, your business is opening up, and you're still working on IT.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what I love about this is how, like you just said it, how things started to line up. Because one of the things that I'm so like, I really want us to open to believe, because we grew up in a culture, most of us, where work hard, no pain, no gain. If you don't make things happen, they will never happen. And there's some truth to that. And there's the other part that make things not as hard and not as like pushing and forcing and making it happen. It's more about an inner alignment. That's the work that we do in the Wild Woman Immersion. And that's bringing you back home to your truth, to connecting with the feminine energy. So yes, there is an action that needs to happen for things to actually take place and happen, but also without the alignment, our energy is all over the place. When we are aligned first within ourselves, which is what I call the feminine work, when you're connected with yourself, you have clarity on what you want, you give yourself permission to have it, which is big for us women. You open to receive it. You're not like, oh no, I don't want to bother others, I don't want to make others feel bad. No, you go first. And all those things that we're so used to doing from the good girl, when we bring the Wild Woman into the picture, we can actually open ourselves to allow the flow and the magic, really literally the magic, to happen. Because what is our hashtag that we talk about it all the time in our group? Remember?
I'm not sure which one.
You can't make this shit up.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, it's funny because, like, what are the chances that her friend opens this hair salon and she intended it to be more a wellness center?
Yes.
Right? And what are the chances that are close to your house? when you just moved and you didn't have a place. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's not coincidence. Like, that's
Mm.
not a coincidence. That is an alignment. And you call me crazy. If you don't believe it, it's okay. Try it for a size and see if it works. That is the magic, where things just unfold as you continue to hone and hone and hone your energy and become clearer and build a confidence, believing, building your self-worth, and believing that it can happen for you, instead of like, oh, what if somebody else gets upset, or what if somebody else gets hurt, or what if. That is all what we need to release, or seeking approval.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your,
Definitely.
right? What were, like, if you were fully honest with yourself and with us here, what were one of your biggest struggles before doing this program, before meeting, like working together?
Yeah, and I think I just have to kind of talk it out, but like what you were saying, I mean, I was seeing clients for over the past maybe 5 years or so, and I was doing the hustle from the masculine, like trying to make it work. But when you said giving yourself permission, I think those are the things I learned with you in the program. You know, I was invited to join this space, the salon wellness space. I didn't, yes, I put the intention out there, and I made it known that that's what I'm doing, and I talked about it, but that invitation, that allowing it to happen and giving myself permission for it to happen. Um, what else? Well, and even if, with the workshop, that was another big one later on in the program.
Yes, that's right.
Where the owner of the space and I were talking, and she was really excited to have me host a workshop to introduce people to, well, what is energy medicine? And I've done workshops in the past at different places, and they're a lot of fun, and I love doing them. So of course I said, yes, I'd love to do it. But again, because I'm across town, I don't have a clientele base here. Most of my clientele base was further away, and I didn't think they would drive. I was afraid no one would show. And I shared this with Paula.
Yes.
And that was a big shift for me as well. And some of the things that we were learning in the program, you reminded me to it really shift the mindset.
Yeah.
And then I remember the day of the workshop, it was a small space. I think we had maybe 8 people, which was a huge success.
Yes, yes.
So that learning to trust myself, giving myself permission, but also the having the mindset of the anticipation energy, that excitement energy.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is, because of course we need to work with the mind. The mindset is a big part of it. And another thing that is also sometimes is like, is the energetics of it. When we change the energy and we focus on what you were saying, like setting the intention, talking about it, that is something that if we don't feel worthy, we're gonna be like, oh no, I'm afraid. I don't want to impose. I don't want, like the good girl will do stuff like this, and then we miss out on opportunities because we don't feel confident in talking about it. We're scared to be rejected, that people say no, like you were saying, like no one would show up, or you would feel like if you say or you speak some ideas or something that comes to you as an intuition, but you would feel like someone would think that that's totally ridiculous, so you wouldn't even say it out loud. So it's just building that confidence. Yes, releasing all that mindset things, all the beliefs and things that we learned, that how things needed to be, and also learn how to tap into the energy, so then you become that tuning fork. You're so tuned in that generates a vortex for things to come our way. So even though we can talk about it, we don't have to knock on every door. If when we are aligned energetically, already that is coming to you. Does that make sense? I mean, I know it makes sense to you, but I'm like, it's a rhetoric question in the sense of, like, if you really connect with it, can you feel how, like a magnet, can you feel how that could be possible? Right? So much so we feel, again, like we have to make 3,000 phone calls to get one client. And yet, when we are connected with our confidence, when we have the courage to speak up, when we build that and we really believe in ourselves, we really trust ourselves and trust our connection with God, universe, and others, then things come with more ease. It's a constant unfolding because it never ends. Your woman would always want more. So
Yes.
tell us what are the, if you can sum it up, one of the biggest things that you learned through these 3 months, 3.5.
Oh, yeah, it is hard to sum it up.
I didn't prepare you for this, so just
Yes.
maybe a couple, whatever. It's fine. I know
Um,
we're
but,
doing
well,
impromptu here.
yes, yes. um, I mean, even what you said, really, that's it, the integration, because I would do things separately. And that's why it's so hard to describe, because it's all encompassing,
Yeah.
where you have to, it's like believing that I can do it, having that faith and trust as part of it, but having that alignment, like you said, so you're a magnet, so things come to you, and just really embodying it all. And it's hard, you can't just, do step 1, 2, 3. You really have to go through it and feel. That was the other thing, and feel, connect, because that was another big thing. I definitely, I'm in my head a lot. I know a lot of us are, and through different embodiment practices that you do in the program, and then I'm aware of course, in my practice and things, but it really helps the integration, and that's so important.
Yeah, I love that word that you just used, embodiment. The embodiment of not just keeping in like knowledge, which is here, and it's very masculine, the mind, the facts, the spreadsheets, and all that good stuff that a lot of the masculine and our good girl also really likes it. It makes her feel safe. But the truth is that when we tune in with ourselves and with our heart, we feel safe to open instead of being on guard because of fear, because of bad experiences in the past. And when we can release all of that and fully own that, fully be in our bodies, in our heart, in our womb, with receiving in that receptive state, doing the tango, right? Like we talk a lot about that, doing the tango between the feminine and masculine within, so then we can do that outside of ourselves.
Definitely. There's a song that's coming to mind, which my husband first played to me when I met him, and we used as our wedding song. And it resonates with what you're saying. It's some old country song. I forget who sang it, but it's called "Look Heart, No Hands." And it's like trusting the heart, and no hands to me is like getting out of your head and just,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Ah, right, because it's the doing, right? Yeah. Right.
Yes.
So it's balancing the doing, right? Like the do to-do list, blah, with the being, and having that be that, that fluidity, like that would have that energetic exchange between them, which is the tango. It's when we talk about a lot about tango, but it's the tango of life. It's really connecting with the why tango is so beautiful, because there's such a synergy. And when we can fully embody ourselves and have our mind and our bodies and our connection with it just have that flow, constant ever ebb and flow, it's just, that's the magic. That's when the magic starts happening. That's when the miracles happen. That's when the ease, the abundance, and abundance of everything, joy. I mean, Margot, like of course, you're always been a lovely person, but I feel like there's when I after when we finished the program, and of course, now I think you were preparing the nursery at that time, and now you're like, how many weeks?
I'm week 31 now, so less than 10 to go.
Yeah. Again, it's just part of like that joy, that inner joy. We worked a lot on like releasing all family, things that were holding you back. uh, mending and healing relationships also allows us to not feel that energy drag, like when
Mm,
we have, like when you were in that toxic environment, it was dragging you energetically, and it puts
definitely.
us into that survival emergency, like almost
Mhm.
like we know what's next. Instead, when we are trusting and when our heart is open and we know how to create agreements and boundaries in relationships. I was talking to Katie yesterday about that. When we can then really, okay, what serves me first? And give that space for ourselves and then open up to others, it changes everything.
Yes. Yeah, that's big. That really is, because I definitely was the type to think, oh no, others are more important first, that whole good girl thing, and learning. I mean, it's been a process for a while, but the whole self-care, really learning that I have to have my oxygen mask on first before I can help others. That's really key.
Yeah, and we think we know it because you know that, but
Mhm.
like I did this in my journey, so I'm gonna call myself on it. I did this when, oh, I know that that's what I need to do, but I wasn't, like, it wasn't happening. I was still, my default was to take care of others first, even though I knew what to do. It wasn't happening, and so that's what we need to bridge the gap,
Mhm.
because you can know what to do, but if it's, you're not really applying it in your life, it's never going to transform.
And now I'm living it. I have to take care of myself and eat right to feed the baby. So
Yeah,
it's like an extra embodiment of that practice.
right. And of course, the journey continues after, then it's gonna have to be it, right? Like, and there's always a next level. I feel like, tell us a little bit about how the experience of the group of women
Mhm.
was for you.
Yes, and I mean, that's priceless, right? Some of the women I'm still friends with, and I would love to be friends with all the women. There's just so many time, in a
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
It's really a wonderful group. Paula has such a magic of bringing the right people together at the right time, and really they are amazing women, and I'm so um, honored to be a part of, their lives, and I'm a part of theirs.
Yeah.
um, they're so supportive, and even just recently, I think I even mentioned to Paula, I reached out to some of them, and the support and love, it was so strong. It's still there. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to see them grow, and you learn from them, and then they learn from you, and it's
Yeah.
that's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah, you become mirrors of each other. Yeah, I mean, it honestly, I feel like, of course, I call in the women, but ultimately is you ladies are, I feel like every group, it's like you choose each other at a soul level, you're choosing each other to go through this journey together, and it's each, and I've been doing groups for 5 years now, and it doesn't fail. It's like you come together for a purpose, and my groups are always open, so even though the program ends, you continue to, you know reach out and connect, and that's the fun of it. It's a community.
Now, even go on.
No, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like that women's leadership conference that I hope to get you to speak at here in Cleveland, that I was able to go to, women supporting women, and um, that, I mean, that's so important for this day and age too. And part of the sisterhood in the group, and just being aware of it and carrying it over, and
Yeah,
being open to it, that you can watch the magic happen in other areas in the
yeah,
world, hopefully, but
yeah,
starting with your work and then city, and
yeah,
it growing.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm also very passionate about, as women coming together. And of course, again, there is a masculine side of us who gets things done and runs the business or becomes successful in careers, and that's beautiful. And I feel like without the feminine, it just becomes harder because we are not fully aligned with our true nature. And so when we can align with our true nature, then we can, when we need to use the masculine, we use the masculine. When we need to be in our feminine, then we can be in our feminine, and it's more nourishing. The
Mm-hmm.
feminine in general, the feminine energy is more nourishing. So yeah, so when you are able to, I mean, when you did that big shift and that you applied for your other job, you already shifted that a lot, because you found a more supportive environment.
And with men that are supported too. So, right, we talk a lot about the women
Yes,
supporting women and all that, but it's so important. I know you mentioned this a lot. It's
yes,
important for the men as well. And that, yeah, and also that you don't drain yourself if you're in your masculine all the time.
yes, right, yeah. So again, right, like sometimes what we need to pay attention in regards to, the good girl knows, right? The good girl wants it, but let's remember that our good girl grew up in fear and scarcity. All of our good girls have, no exception. Color, country, language, I don't care what you tell me. You, like, all of our good girls grew up in fear and scarcity. This is collective around the world. And so,
Mm.
right, like, it's important for us to remember that sometimes it's important to connect with our heart. And if you're too much in your head, it's going to be harder for you to make a decision. But what you can save, if you are feeling something but you can't really decode it, I would recommend you to trust the feeling more than having to decode it. And perhaps,
Definitely.
again, right, because we can accelerate the processes, and we don't have to, like, wait until everything falls down or wait until things get better. In your case, you knew that there were practical things. Your good girl was very practical. But again, now, after this work and through this work, you learned that, oh, well, maybe even though I am pregnant, I can still do a workshop, and
Mhm.
I'll figure it out how things are going to work out. Things will unfold. You didn't say, oh no, I don't want to do the workshop because then I don't know if I will be, like, you weren't in your head with it. You
Mm.
just said yes to what presented to you, and your next level will unfold. And being in that state of trust, I feel like it's so beautiful
Mm.
and
Yes.
powerful.
Yes. And I mean, looking back, I probably would tell myself, my previous self, to just take a leap and talk to you. But I know it's so hard because the good girl's not ready. But telling someone now, I would 100% say, yes, talk to Paula. If any of this inspired you, have a call. Paula is one of the most authentic, I'm going to cry again. Paula's one of the most authentic, genuine people I know,
Mm.
not pushy at all. We talked, and if it wasn't right for me, that's fine. We checked in later, and when the time was right, it was right.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're always there for support is just, oh, it's wonderful. And I would definitely encourage any woman out there that has that feeling of, oh, maybe this is for me, to trust it and go with it, and just talk to Paula. No
Yeah.
pressure. It's worth it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Margot and I get very emotional. It's fun. It's fun. It's okay. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to feel, that's one of the main things. It's not like dust yourself off and I'm fine. We need to break those walls of, like, I'm fine, or like we have to be for what others need us, and we have to put up an image so then we don't make others feel uncomfortable. Like, just being in the constant present moment is where the juice of life is, where the real deal is. So anyway, thank you, darling, so much for sharing your story. And I cannot wait to meet baby Diana. I'm very
Yes.
excited. And yeah, you know, it's just so fun to witness you unfold in the way you did in such a short time, and how things will continue. It's a true blessing. Thank you for trusting me.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you. And thank you for inviting me to share my story here today.
Yeah. All right. Mwah. Bye, everyone. If you want to learn more, you're going to find a link below. Let's get on the phone. Let's chat. My programs are starting soon. It'll be an honor to meet you and connect with you. And there's so much more for all of us. There's always a next level, ladies. This doesn't end. It's part of life. It's part of the joy of being alive. And why not live it as we go through it instead of carrying everything on our shoulders? That doesn't work, right?
Definitely. And if anyone has any questions for me, I'm open. Feel free to reach out too.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right.
Sure.
Talk to you soon, honey. Ciao.